Defense coordinator Jim Schwartz talked with media today, was asked about rebounding from the 0-1 start.
I mean, it's a proud group, and I don't know if I'd say like get it turned around. I mean, it's one game, and I don't know if this stat still holds, but and I can't even remember how long. I remember addressing the team one time. Maybe I was in Detroit, maybe I was in Philly, maybe Tennessee. I can't really remember. But at one time, teams that started 1-0 had a less chance to make the playoffs than the teams that started 0-1. And I couldn't wrap my arms around like why that was. And the best I could come up with is the teams that were 0-1 had to confront their problems, right? They were embarrassed by the performance. It's a big game, and you have to go out and it's an immediate self-check. You get slapped and, hey, we got to go. The urgency to get it right. And maybe there's a tendency if you start 1-0, maybe you dismiss or ignore some of those same problems just because of the result of the game.
Spencer, it's interesting. I was interested in hearing that. On some level, it makes sense. There's a lot of things they need to correct.
Yeah, no doubt. I loved that line from Jim. It felt very Jim Schwartz first and foremost. He's definitely that type of guy that leans on some of those interesting sort of nuggets and the deeper thinking of guys when he's kind of speaking to the team, which I've always admired about him. But to his point, like I think he's got something there. Like how they respond out of this game is going to be the most telling thing of all. Like if they come out and they've truly corrected their issues, we're going to see that play itself out in the field. And it's almost, in a way, it's kind of nice to get the reminder early in the season that like, hey, you got humbled, you got some things to work on, and you can start figuring those things out sooner than maybe other teams will. So I like where his head's at with that. I like what he has to say. But yeah, you're right. There is a lot to correct. I think from his standpoint, like the defense was certainly not the problem on Sunday against the Cowboys. I think they had some moments where they played really well. We know like Denzel Ward dropped 2 interceptions. Maybe those are things that changed the game. Their one big error, of course, was the touchdown to Brandon Cooks, where Jim Schwartz called that I want to say he called it a technique issue more so than a communication issue on the back end of the defense. So he said it was something that was easy to fix. But I do think for the most part, that group tried to keep the team in the game as long as they could, considering that the offense was going 3-and-out and 3-and-out and 3-and-out, throwing interceptions 3-and-out. And so I felt, I didn't walk away feeling like there was a ton that went wrong in the defense and it's a disaster and all these different things. I did feel that way more about the offense. But what he says applies to both sides of the ball. I think the defense is the thing I'll trust to probably get things the most right. The offense, as we kind of talked about in this sort of first conversation together, is the one where there's a lot of glaring issues. Can they sort through them in a short amount of time and correct them for week 2? I guess we'll see on Sunday.